Okay, we'd like to introduce our next guest, Professor Aspirin, Professor Jane Aspirin, professor at Mindanao State University, Marawi City. She's teaching history. Let's all welcome her. Professor Aspirin is from Iligan City, and she's a Catholic. I met her. We were together last night. Miss Jane, Professor Aspirin, good morning po sa inyo.
Yes, Casey, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, nice meeting you yesterday.
Yes, you also. It was really a pleasure. What story do you have to tell us today?
Para sa akin, no, this story is not mine to tell, supposed to be. This is the story of my brother. We are 11 siblings in the family, and he was one of the most jolly one. Talagang masayahing tao, and he get along well with almost all people. We are Catholics, no, from Cagayan de Oro, and incidentally, he married to a family who also has a daughter who was married to a Maranao. In fact, a big clan in Lanao. And it just so happened that his sister-in-law ran for mayor in one of the towns in Lanao. And being so helpful that he was, tumulong talaga siya sa campaign. Kaya lang, medyo mahirap talaga yung politika. Siya ang napagtuunan ng galit nung incumbent mayor na taga-Lanao talaga. Yung town kasi na yon is composed by Muslims and Christians. So, the incumbent mayor is a native really of that town in Lanao. And yung galit niya sa sister-in-law na married to a Maranao, doon nabuhos sa brother-in-law ko. And it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon in broad daylight. We was waiting for for a bus ride with his 2 sons. And this incumbent mayor with 2 bodyguards, fully armed, approached him, and there was an exchange of heated words. And right there and then, he gunned down my brother, 7 shots on his body, and he was able to tell his sons, "Run! Dagan mo, dagan!" And the 2 boys jumped on the canal, and still one was scarred, a bullet whizzed over his neck. And it was a terrible time for the family because my brother was a former military man, and his wife asked him to leave the military because she didn't want him to die in the war. And so he left the military only to die in that brutal way. And it was so ironic for my father, who was also a military man. It was difficult for him to accept that because para sa kanya walang kalaban-laban. Sana kung hindi siya umalis sa pagka-military, yun yung thinking ng father ko at ng brother ko rin na military. Sana may laban siya. Sana may laban siya. And it was so traumatic for my mother because when he was autopsy, the wife cannot bear to see the body of her husband being opened up. So it was my mother who really saw how the body of her son was autopsied, and it was so traumatic for her. And if not only for this incident, I would not talk about this because in our family, we never talk about that incident. It's like a taboo because as Christians, we feel so unempowered, vulnerable, not to be able to really do something about that because
Yes.
the culprit is still up and about. So it
Okay.
was a terrible time for us.
Thank you, Professor Aspirin, for telling us this heartbreaking story. Dun sa mga hindi masyadong nakaintindi, ang nangyari po, her brother was executed. Okay, this was her story. Gunshots. She was in a jeepney with Christian teachers, no, Miss Jane?
So it's another story. It's my personal story. That story I told you about is when my brother was gunned down due to political issue.
So
My story, I was
there were
kidnapped.
several incidences. I'm just gonna make it clear because it's not
Yeah.
so clear on audio. Her
It
brother
seems-
was executed because of a political. There was a political issue. Her brother was executed, and there were several incidents after that, where she herself faced danger because of a whole different story that also had to do with lack of communication, lack of information. And we invited guests here just to let us know exactly how it affects us personally. And these are the extreme cases that we have. And we're very lucky to have them here to share with us their experiences.
Casey, parang natatameme tayo sa mga stories nila. But I just would like to ask the professor, after that incident, ano yung naging epekto niya sa pakikitungo nyo sa mga Muslims, especially in the areas of Lanao?
For a while, there was really hatred, no? And there was really the desire to take revenge. But it's difficult. We are not from the area. My brother just so happened to be there because he was married to a sister of that mayor who was married to a Muslim also. So we're not from there. So the hatred and the need for vengeance, wala kaming magawa.
Kung may mga question po kayo, because we will keep Professor Aspirin and Professor Camlian with us all throughout po sa forum. So if you have questions or comments, or if you have also some stories to share about discrimination, pwede po natin gawin yon later sa ating forum na part. No? I think we have some guests with us
Yes.
this morning.
Is there anybody here in Manila na may gustong magtanong? Okay.
Siguro, Casey, we can keep that
Professor Aspirin,
mamaya.
Ate,
Yes.
Ate Baicon, I would
Yes,
just
yes.
like to
Hi.
ask, despite the trauma that you experienced in your family and you yourself, why did you choose to stay in Marawi to work despite your experiences there?
This is really the irony, no? I am a peace builder in my own way. I try to integrate peace in the way I teach. So the greatest challenge really is, magpapatuloy ba ako o kalimutan ko tong lahat? Sabi nga nung co-teacher ko, ba't ka nagtatrabaho for peace, Jane? Hindi mo ba alam, yung nagtatrabaho sa kapayapaan, die a violent death? So talagang challenging para sa akin. Pero I always remember what Bishop Tudtod of Marawi before said, that being a Christian, sa totoo lang, tayo ang mas nakakarami sa Pilipinas. We have the responsibility, the greater responsibility, to extend first a hand of reconciliation. So mahirap pang gawin, pero as a devout Catholic, yun yung ginagawa ko para maipakita ko rin na yung karanasan ko, kayang lampasan para mas makatulong sa ikakabuti, hindi yung sa grabe nung problema sa Mindanao.
Okay. You mentioned na you wanted to take revenge. Diba?
Actually, hindi ako kasi, alam mo naman, I don't have the capacity. Because my brother was also in the military. And we were apprehensive what would be his plans. Pero thankfully, siguro, na-influence din siya ng wife niya, who's also a devout Catholic. Wala namang ginawang revenge. Ipinasa Diyos na lang talaga.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Aspirin, for being an inspiration to us as well.